This is disc number 2.
April 2031. The Third Expedition. April 15, 2031. Ship's journal entry, Captain John Black commanding. We're making our final descent. The ship has served us well since we left Ohio Field on this third voyage to Mars. Now we are decelerating in the upper Martian atmospheres. The ship is moving on the midnight waters of space like a pale sea leviathan. Our crew of 17 have performed well, despite being battered, thrown about, and sickened, each within his turn. One has died. The remaining 16 have clear eyes in their heads and are now looking through the ports as Mars swings up under them.
Good old Mars.
Prepare for landing.
I'll be damned. Captain, do you see this?
Yes. April 15, 2031. Ship's journal entry continued. We have landed on Mars. It's...
I'll be damned.
We have landed on a lawn of green grass. Outside, there is an iron deer, and further up is a tall, brown Victorian house. Houses just like it all along the street. White houses, brick houses, tall elm trees, maples, horse chestnuts, and a church steeple on the other end of the street. Captain out.
I'll be damned.
It just can't be.
Lord. Oxygen report?
Sir, the atmosphere is thin for breathing, but there's enough oxygen. It's safe.
Then we'll go out.
Hold on. How do we know what this is?
It's a small town with thin but breathable air in it, sir.
And it's a small town the like of Earth towns. Incredible. It can't be, but it is.
You're the archaeologist, Hingston. Do you think that the civilizations of two planets can progress at the same rate and evolve in the same way?
I wouldn't have thought so, sir.
Look out there. The geranium's a specialized plant. That specific variety has only been known to Earth for 50 years. Think of the thousands of years it takes to evolve plants. Then tell me if it's logical that the Martians should have 1. Leaded glass windows, 2. Cupolas, 3. Porch swings, 4. An instrument that sounds like a piano and probably is a piano, and 5. If you look closely through this telescope lens here, is it logical that a Martian composer would have published a piece of music titled Beautiful Ohio? All of which means that we have an Ohio River on Mars?
Captain Williams, of course.
What?
Captain Williams and his crew of 3 men, or Nathaniel York and his partner, that would explain it.
That would explain absolutely nothing. As far as we've been able to figure, the York expedition exploded the day it reached Mars, killing York and his partner. As for Williams and his 3 men, their ship exploded the second day after their arrival. At least the pulsations from their ship ceased at that time. If the men were alive after that, they would have contacted us. And anyway, the York expedition was only a year ago, while Captain Williams and his men landed here sometime during last August. Theorizing that they are still alive, could they, even with the help of a brilliant Martian race, have built this and aged it in so short a time? Look at that town out there. Why, it's been standing here for the last 70 years. Look at the wood on the porch. Look at the trees, a century old, all of them. No, this isn't York or Williams. It's something else. I don't like it, and I'm not leaving the ship until I know what it is.
For that matter, Williams and his men, as well as York, landed on the opposite side of Mars. We were very careful to land on this side.
An excellent point. Just in case a hostile local tribe of Martians killed off York and Williams, we have instructions to land in a further region, to forestall a recurrence of such a disaster. So here we are, as far as we know, in a land that Williams and York never saw.
Damn it, I want to get out into this town, sir. With your permission. Maybe there are similar thought patterns, civilization graphs on every planet in our sun system. We may be on the threshold of the greatest psychological and metaphysical discovery of our age.
I'm willing to wait a moment.
It may be, sir, that we're looking on a phenomenon that, for the first time, would absolutely prove the existence of God, sir.
There are many people who are of good faith without such proof, Mr. Hingston.
I'm one myself, sir. But certainly a town like this could not occur without divine intervention. The detail. It fills me with such feelings that I don't know whether to laugh or cry.
Do neither then, until we know what we're up against.
Up against? Against nothing, Captain. It's a good, quiet, green town. A lot like the old-fashioned one I was born in. I like the looks of it.
When were you born, Lustig?
1980, sir?
And you, Hingston?
1985, sir. Grinnell, Iowa. And this looks like home to me.
Hingston? Lustig? I could be either of your fathers. I'm just 80 years old. Born in 1950 in Illinois, and through the grace of God and science that in the last 50 years know how to make some old men young again. Here I am on Mars. Not any more tired than the rest of you, but infinitely more suspicious. This town out here looks very peaceful and cool, and so much like Green Bluff, Illinois, that it frightens me. It's too much like Green Bluff. Mr. Jackson?
Sir?
Radio Earth. Tell them we've landed, that's all. Tell them we'll radio a full report tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Tell you what we'll do, Lustig.
Sir?
You and I and Hingston will look the town over. The other men will stay aboard. If anything happens, they can get the hell out. A loss of 3 men's better than a whole ship. If something bad happens, our crew can warn the next ship. That's Captain Wilder's ship, I think, due to be ready to take off next Christmas. If there's something hostile about Mars, we certainly want the next ship to be well armed.
So are we. We've got a regular arsenal with us.
Jennings?
Captain?
Tell the men to stand by their guns. Lustig, Hingston, let's go. The air is indeed thin. We'll move slow so we don't tire out.
Sir, it must be. It has to be that rocket travel started to Mars in the years before the First World War.
No.
How else can you explain these houses, the pianos, the music? Say that there were people in the year 1905 who hated war and got together with some scientists in secret and built a rocket and came here to Mars and...
No, Hingston.
Why not? The world was a different world in 1905. They could have kept it a secret much more easily.
A complex thing like a rocket? No, you couldn't keep it secret.
And then they came up here to live, and naturally the houses they built were similar to Earth houses because they brought culture with them.
And they've lived here all these years?
In peace and quiet, yes. Maybe they made a few trips, enough to bring enough people here for one small town, and then stop for fear of being discovered. That's why the town seemed so old-fashioned. I don't see a thing myself older than the year 1972. Do you? Or, maybe, sir, rocket travel is older than we think. Perhaps it started in some part of the world centuries ago and was kept secret by the small number of men who came to Mars with only occasional visits to Earth over the centuries.
You make it sound almost reasonable.
It has to be. We've the proof here before us. All we have to do is find some people and verify it.
All right. Here, this house here.
Well, there's someone inside.
Can I help you?
Beg your pardon, but we're looking for... That is, could you help us?
If you're selling something...
No, wait! What town is this?
What do you mean, what town is it? How could you be in a town and not know the name?
We're strangers here. We want to know how this town got here and how you got here.
Are you census takers?
No.
Everyone knows this town was built in 1868. Is this a game?
No, not a game. We're from Earth.
Out of the ground, you mean?
No, we came from the third planet, Earth, in a ship. And we've landed here on the fourth planet, Mars.
This is Green Bluff, Illinois, on the continent of America, surrounded by the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, on a place called the world, or sometimes the Earth. Go away now. Goodbye.
Let's knock the screen door in.
We can't do that. This is private property. Good God. Did it ever strike you, Hingston, that perhaps we got ourselves somehow, in some way, off track, and by accident came back to Earth and landed on Earth?
How could we have done that?
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, God, let me think.
But we checked every mile of the way. Our chronometers said so many miles. We went past the moon and out into space, and here we are. I'm positive we're on Mars.
But suppose by accident, in space, in time, we got lost in dimensions and landed on Earth that is 60 or 70 years ago.
Oh, go away, Lustig.
Wait. Excuse me, ma'am? Can you tell us what year this is?
1956, of course.
You hear that?
1956?
We have gone back in time. This is Earth.
I didn't ask for a thing like this. It scares the hell out of me. How can a thing like this happen?
Will anyone in this town believe us?
Are we playing with something dangerous? Time, I mean? Shouldn't we just take off and go home?
No, not until we try another house. I'd like to be as logical as I can be, and I don't believe we put our finger on it yet. Suppose, Hingston, as you originally suggested, that rocket travel occurred years ago, and when the Earth people lived here a number of years, they began to get homesick for Earth. First a mild neurosis about it, then a full-fledged psychosis, then threatened insanity. What would you do as a psychiatrist if faced with such a problem?
Well, I think I'd rearrange the civilization on Mars so it resembled Earth more and more each day. If there was any way of reproducing every plant, every road, and every lake, and even an ocean, I'd do so. Then, by some vast crowd hypnosis, I'd convince everyone in a town this size that this was really Earth, not Mars at all.
Good enough, Hingston. I think we're on the right track now. That woman in that house back there just thinks she's living on Earth. It protects her sanity. She and all the others in this town are the patients of the greatest experiment in migration and hypnosis you will ever lay eyes on in your life.
That's it, sir.
Right.
Well, now we've got somewhere. I feel better. It's all a bit more logical. And that talk about time and going back and forth and traveling through time turns my stomach upside down. But this way, well, it looks as if we'll be fairly popular here.
Or will we? After all, like the Pilgrims, these people came here to escape Earth. Maybe they won't be too happy to see us. Maybe they'll try to drive us out or kill us.
We have superior weapons. This next house, here, let's go.
Sir.
What is it, Lustig?
Oh, sir. What I see, Look! Look!
Don't let him get away! Lustig! Where are you going? Stop!
Grandma! Grandpa, it's me! Open the door! Open the door, please!
Lustig, what are you doing?
Grandma, it's me! Open the door!
Lustig!
Grandma! Grandpa!
David?
David, it's you.
Oh, it's been so many years. How big you are. David, how are you?
Grandpa, you look fine. Come
in. Boy, come in. Oh, there's iced tea for you. Fresh, lots of it.
I've got friends here. Captain.
Come in. Howdy. Come in. Any friends of David's are our friends, too. Well, don't just stand there. Here's to our health.
How long have you been here, Grandma?
Ever since we died.
Ever since you what?
Oh, yes. They've been dead 30 years.
And you sit there calmly?
Who are you to question what happens? Here we are. What's life anyway? Who does what for why and where? All we know is here we are, alive again and no questions asked. A second chance. Here, take my wrist, Captain. Feel. Solid, ain't it?
Yes.
Well then, why go around questioning?
Well, it's simply that we never thought we'd find a thing like this on Mars.
And now you found it. I dare say there's lots on every planet that'll show you God's infinite ways.
Is this heaven?
Nonsense, no. It's a world and we get a second chance. Nobody told us why. But then nobody told us why we were on Earth either.
That other Earth, the one you came from? How do we know there wasn't another before that one?
A good question.
Boy, it's good to see you. It's good.
Well, we've got to be going. Thank you for the drinks.
You'll come back, of course. For supper tonight?
We'll try and make it, thanks. There's so much to be done. My men are waiting for me back at the ship, and
What's that?
we'll soon find out.
Look at that. A crowd at the ship, and the crew, they're all outside mingling with everyone.
Laughing, shaking hands like family. Come on!
Bye, Grandma, Grandpa. See you tonight.
Looks like they're all marching away, down that other street.
Come back! Abandoned. They abandoned the ship. I'll have their skins, by God. They had orders!
Sir, don't be too hard on them. Those were all old relatives and friends.
That's no excuse.
Think how they felt, Captain. Seeing familiar faces outside the ship.
They had their orders, damn it!
How would you have felt, Captain?
I would have obeyed orders.
John! John!
What?
John! John! You old son of a bitch!
It's... you.
Well, of course. Who'd you think it was?
Edward? This is my brother, Edward. Ed, meet my men. Lustig, Hingston. My brother, Ed.
Oh, John.
You're looking fine, Ed. But... Ed, what is this? You haven't changed over the years. You died. I remember when you were 26 and I was 19. So many years ago, and here you are, and... Lord, what goes on?
Mom's waiting.
Mom?
And Dad, too.
Dad? Mom and Dad alive? Where?
At the old house on Oak Knoll Avenue.
The old house? Did you hear that, Lustig? Hingston? Hingston?
He's gone. Towards that house over there. Must be his. You see, Captain, what happened to everyone on the ship? They couldn't help themselves.
Yes. Yes. When I open my eyes, you'll be gone. You're still there. God, Ed, but you look fine.
Come on, lunch is waiting. I told Mom.
Sir, I'll be with my grandfolks if you need me.
What? Oh, fine, Lustig. Later then.
Let's go. This way. There's the house. You remember it?
Hell. Bet I can beat you to the front porch.
I beat you.
I'm an old man, and you're still young. But then you always beat me. I remember.
John? John?
Mom?
And, it's a spaceship?
Yes. It's how we got here. A 17-man crew. But we lost one during the journey.
Look at that turkey, will you, Dad? Why, the drumsticks are picked clean. You boys always love the drumsticks.
About as much as I loved my cigar. Can still blow a perfect ring. Yeah, look at that.
Beautiful night. All you can hear are pianos playing, people talking, doors closing.
Speaking of music,
Hey, what are you going to put on the phonograph?
my favorite. John, come dance with me.
Okay, Mom.
Oh, this is so nice.
You're wearing the same perfume I remember from that summer.
Which summer, dear?
The summer when you and Dad were killed in the train accident.
It's not every day you get a second chance to live.
I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be in my ship, in space, and all this will be gone.
No, don't think that. Don't question. God's good to us. Let's be happy.
Sorry, Mom.
You're tired, son. Your old bedroom's waiting for you, brass bed and all.
But I should report my men in.
Why?
Well, I don't know. No reason, I guess. No, not at all. They're all eating or in bed. A good night's sleep won't hurt them.
Good night, son. It's good to have you home.
It's good to be home. It's my brass bed, and my football pennants from college, and my leather coat. It's too much.
What do you mean?
I'm numb and I'm tired. Too much has happened today. I feel as if I'd been out in a pounding rain for 48 hours without an umbrella or a coat. I'm soaked to the skin with emotion. The whole town, covered in moonlight. So this is Mars.
Well, this is it.
Just how it was, decades ago. Is Marilyn here?
Yes. She's out of town, but she'll be here in the morning.
I want to see Marilyn very much. Good night, Ed.
Well, good night, John.
How? How was this all made, and why? For what purpose? Out of the goodness of some divine intervention? Is God, then, really that thoughtful of his children? How, and why, and what for? Maybe Hingston was right. Maybe people did invent a rocket in 1905 and came here and... Mom, Dad, Edward, Mars, Earth, Mars, Martians... Who lived here 1,000 years ago on Mars? Martians? Or has this always been the way it is today? Martians. I wonder if... No, John, that's silly. But just suppose now that there were Martians living on Mars. and they saw our ship coming and saw us inside our ship and hated us. Suppose now, just for the hell of it, they wanted to destroy us as invaders, as unwanted ones, and they wanted to do it in a very clever way, so that we would be taken off guard. What would the best weapon be that a Martian could use against Earthmen with atomic weapons? Telepathy, hypnosis, memory, and imagination. Suppose all the houses aren't real at all. This bed not real, but only figments of my own imagination, given substance by telepathy and hypnosis through the Martians. Suppose these houses are really some other shape, a Martian shape. By playing on my desires and wants, these Martians have made this seem like my old hometown, my house, to lull me out of my suspicions. What better way to fool a man than to use his own father as bait? And this town, so old, long before any of my men were born. What if the Martians took the memories of a town exclusively from my mind? They say childhood memories are the clearest. And after they built the town from my mind, they populated it with the most loved people from all the minds of the people on the ship. And suppose those two people in the next room, asleep, are not my mother and father at all, but two Martians, incredibly brilliant, with the ability to keep me under the dreaming hypnosis all of the time. First, fool Lustig, then Hingston, then gather a crowd, and all the men in the ship, seeing mothers, aunts, uncles, sweethearts, dead 10, 20 years ago, naturally disregarding orders, rush out and abandon ship. What more natural? What more unsuspecting? What more simple? A man doesn't ask too many questions when his mother is suddenly brought back to life. He's much too happy. And here we all are tonight, in various houses, in various beds, with no weapons to protect us. And the ship lies in the moonlight, empty. And wouldn't it be horrible and terrifying to discover that all of this was part of some great clever plan by the Martians to divide and conquer us and kill us? Sometime during the night, perhaps, my brother here on this bed will change form, melt, shift, and become another thing, a terrible thing, a Martian. It will be very simple for him to turn over in bed and put a knife into my heart. And all those other houses down the street, a dozen other brothers or fathers suddenly melting away and taking knives and doing things to the unsuspecting sleeping men of Earth.
Where are you going?
What?
I said, where do you think you're going?
For a drink of water.
But you're not thirsty.
Yes. Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
June 2032, and the moon be still as bright. Black space of stars, and under it, a dead dreaming world.
We're the first men to land on Mars.
We assume, Biggs.
Captain, we never heard from any of the other expeditions. They failed. The fourth expedition, us, is the successful one. We landed, and we're safe.
You get the fire going?
Yes, sir. What ain't easy to find. Why don't we use the ship's chemical fire instead?
Never mind.
What's that, Spender?
Wouldn't be right. First night on Mars to make a loud noise, to introduce a strange, silly, bright thing like a stove.
Well, this isn't my idea of a celebration. That city down there. Why don't we go check it out?
We're all tired. Tomorrow night, perhaps. Tonight, we should be glad we got across all that space without getting a meteor in our bulkhead or having one man of us die.
Look, the pod is returning.
Hathaway!
Captain Wilder.
Well?
That city there, Captain, is dead. And has been dead for a good many thousand years. That applies to those 3 cities in the hills also. But the 5th city, sir? 200 miles over, sir?
What about it?
People were living in it last week, sir.
Martians?
Where are they now?
Dead. I went into a house on one street. I thought that it, like the other towns and houses, had been dead for centuries. But there were bodies there. It was like walking in a pile of autumn leaves, like sticks and pieces of burnt newspaper, that's all. And fresh. They'd been dead 10 days at the outside.
Did you check the other towns? Did you see anything alive?
Nothing whatsoever. So I went out to check the other towns. 4 out of 5 had been empty for thousands of years. What happened to the original inhabitants? I haven't the faintest idea. But the 5th city always contained the same thing. Bodies. Thousands of bodies.
What did they die of?
You won't believe it.
What killed them?
Chicken pox.
My God. No.
I made tests. Chicken pox. It did things to the Martians it never did to Earthmen. Their metabolism reacted differently, I suppose. Burnt them black and dried them out to brittle flakes. But it's chicken pox nonetheless, so York, Captain Williams, and Captain Black must have got through to Mars. All 3 expeditions. God knows what happened to them. But we at least know what they unintentionally did to the Martians.
You saw no other sign of life?
Chances are a few of the Martians, if they were smart, escaped to the mountains. But there aren't enough, I'd lay you money, to be a native problem. This planet is through.
Chickenpox. Chickenpox. Think of it. A race builds itself for 1,000,000 years, refines itself, erects cities like those out there, does everything it can to give itself respect and beauty, and then it dies. Part of it dies slowly in its own time, before our age, with dignity. But the rest... Does the rest of Mars die of a disease with a fine name, or a terrifying name, or a majestic name? No. Chicken pox. A child's disease. A disease that doesn't even kill children on Earth.
It's like saying the Greeks died of mumps, or the proud Romans died of athlete's foot. If only we'd given the Martians time to arrange their death robes, lie down, look fit, and think of some other excuse for dying. It can't be a dirty, silly thing like chicken pox. It doesn't fit the architecture. It doesn't fit this entire world.
All right, Hathaway. Get yourself some food.
More wine, Spender?
No, Biggs.
All the more for me.
They don't know what they're doing, Captain. They should have had an orientation program before they came to Mars to tell them how to walk around and be good for a few days.
It's just one night.
Look at this! Over this rise! It's a canal! A Martian canal! Give me those empty bottles!
What's he doing?
I christen thee Biggs Canal! Hey, Spender! Hey, what's going on? Hey! What's eating you, Spender? Hey! Well?
All right, that's enough. All right, Biggs. Get some dry clothes. And you men, carry on with your party. Spender, come with me. I suppose you explain what just happened.
I don't know. I was ashamed of Biggs and us and the noise. Christ, what a spectacle.
It's been a long trip. They've got to have their fling.
Where's their respect, sir? Where's their sense of the right thing?
You're tired, and you have a different way of seeing things, Spender. That's a $50 fine for you.
Yes, sir. It was just the idea of them watching us make fools of ourselves.
Them?
The Martians. Whether they're dead or not.
Most certainly dead. Do you think they know we're here?
Doesn't an old thing always know when a new thing comes?
I suppose so. You sound as if you believe in spirits.
I believe in the things that were done, and there are evidences of many things done on Mars. There are streets and houses, and there are books, I imagine, and canals and clocks and places for stabling, if not horses. Well, then some domestic animal, perhaps with 12 legs. Who knows? Everywhere I look, I see things that were used. They were touched and handled for centuries. Ask me then if I believe in the spirits of the things as they were used, and I'll say yes. They're all here. All the things which had uses. All the mountains which had names. and we'll never be able to use them without feeling uncomfortable. The mountains will never sound right to us. We'll give them new names, but the old names are there, somewhere in time, and the mountains were shaped and seen under those names. The names we'll give to the canals and mountains and cities will fall like so much water on the back of a mallard. See, Captain, no matter how we touch Mars, we'll never touch it. And then we'll get mad at it. And you know what we'll do? We'll rip the skin off, and change it to fit ourselves.
We won't ruin Mars. It's too big and too good.
You think not? We Earthmen have a talent for ruining big, beautiful things. We'll call the canal the Rockefeller Canal, and the mountain will be King George Mountain, and the sea the DuPont Sea, and there'll be the Roosevelt and Lincoln and Coolidge cities, and it won't ever be right when there are proper names for these places.
That'll be your job as archaeologists, to find out the old names, and we'll use them.
A few men like us, against all the commercial interests. Look at those mountains over there. They know we're here tonight, to spit in their wine, and I imagine they hate us.
There's no hatred here. From the look of their cities, they were a graceful, beautiful, and philosophical people. They accepted what came to them. They acceded to racial death. That much we know. And without a last-moment war of frustration to tumble down their cities, every town we've seen so far has been flawlessly intact. They probably don't mind us being here any more than they'd mind children playing on the lawn, knowing and understanding children for what they are. And anyway, perhaps all this will change us for the better.
Perhaps.
Did you notice the peculiar quiet of the men, Spender, until Biggs forced them to get happy? They looked pretty humble and frightened. Looking at all this, we know we're not so hot. We're kids and rompers, shouting with our play rockets and atoms, loud and alive. But one day, Earth will be as Mars is today. This will sober us. It's an object lesson in civilizations. We'll learn from Mars. Now suck in your chin. Let's go back to the crew. And that $50 fine still goes.
Come on, gents, come on. Whitey, your harmonica. What kind of party is this? Okay. Me and my bottle will go have our own party.
All those who want can come into the city with me. We'll post a guard here at the ship and go armed, just in case.
I'll go.
All right, Biggs. And leave the bottle.
Yes, sir.
We moved out into the outer rim of the dreaming dead city in the light of the racing twin moons. Our shadows under us were double shadows. We did not breathe, or seemed not to, for several minutes. We were waiting for something to stir in the dead city, some gray form to rise, some ancient ancestral shape to come galloping across the vacant sea bottom on an ancient armored steed of impossible lineage, of unbelievable derivation.
People. I see people moving like blue vapor lights on the cobbled streets, and there are faint murmurs of sound and odd animals scurrying across the gray-red sands. Each window has a person leaning from it and waving slowly, as if under timeless water, at some moving form in the fathoms of space below the moon-silvered towers. Music is playing in my inner ear. The land is haunted.
Hey! Hey! You people in the city there, you!
Biggs!
Just wanted to see if...
It's like entering a mausoleum. Where have the people gone? What had they been? Who were their kings? How did they die? How did they build this city to last the ages through? Did they ever come to Earth? Were they ancestors of Earthmen 10,000 years removed?
Lord Byron.
Lord who?
Lord Byron, the 19th century poet. He wrote a poem a long time ago that fits this city and how the Martians must feel if there's anything left of them to feel. It might have been written by the last Martian poet.
How's the poem go, Spender?
So we'll go no more a-roving, so late into the night, though the heart be still as loving, and the moon be still as bright. For the sword outwears the sheath, and the soul wears out the breast, and the heart must pause to breathe, and love itself must rest. Though the night was made for loving, and the day returns too soon, yet we'll go no more a-roving by the light of the moon.
Captain? It's 4 in the morning. Aren't you sleeping, sir?
I'm waiting for Spender.
You know, sir, I don't think he'll ever come back. I don't know how I know, but that's the way I feel about him, sir. He'll never come back.
Ship's log, June 20th, 2032. It's been a week. No sign of Spender. I've sent out search parties, but all returned saying they didn't know where he could have gone. They say he will be back when he is good and ready, that he's a sorehead, and to the devil with him. Cookie?
Yes, Captain?
Where's Biggs?
I'm not sure, sir. I think he said he was going down to the canal.
Well, I want to see him when he returns. He has the next search party. I'm taking the morning patrol out now.
Yes, sir. Breakfast is just about ready, sir.
After the patrol, we'll be scouting on the East Ridge. We'll be back in an hour or so.
Yes, sir.
Let's go, men.
What time's it getting to be? Who's... Well, I'll be damned.
I'm the last Martian.
What did you say?
I'm going to kill you.
Cut it! What kind of joke's that, Spender?
Stand up and take it in the stomach.
For Christ's sakes, put that gun away.
Cookie, I'll never get tired of the way you make these eggs.
House specialty.
Look, here comes the lonely one.
Hello, Spender. Long time no see.
You and them damn runes, you're like a god in a boneyard.
Maybe. I've been finding out things.
Like what?
What would you say if I'd said I'd found a Martian prowling around?
Did you? Where?
Never mind. Let me ask you a question. How would you feel if you were a Martian and people came to your land and started tearing it up?
I know exactly how I'd feel.
You do, Cherokee.
I've got some Cherokee blood in me. My grandfather told me lots of things about Oklahoma Territory. There's a Martian around. I'm all for him.
What about you other men? Well, I found a Martian.
What? Where?
Up in a dead town. I didn't think I'd find him. I didn't intend looking him up. I didn't know what he was doing there. I've been living in a little valley town for about a week, learning how to read the ancient books and looking at their old art forms. And one day, I saw this Martian. He stood there for a moment, and then he was gone. He didn't come back for another day. I sat around, learning how to read the old writing, and the Martian came back, each time a little nearer, until on the day I learned how to decipher the Martian language. It's amazingly simple, and there are pictographs to help you. The Martian appeared before me and said, "Give me your boots." And I gave him my boots. And he said, "Give me your uniform and all the rest of your apparel." And I gave him all of that. And then he said, "Give me your gun." And I gave him my gun. Then he said, "Now come along with me and watch what happens." And the Martian walked here, to the camp, and is here now.
I don't see any Martian.
I'm sorry.
You killed them.
You can come with me. You can be with me on this.
You killed them.
They deserved it.
You're crazy.
Maybe I am, but you can come with me.
Come with you? For what? Go on. Get out.
Of all of them, I thought you would understand.
Get out!
No, stop. Stop it. No, stop it. Stop. No, no!
Park Hill, on the next patrol. We'll check that small town down on the other side of those small hills.
Yes, sir.
We'll leave an hour after breakfast. First, we need to...
Captain, what happened?
Dead. They're all dead.
What?
Chirog? Chirog?
That's McClure. And Cookie. And Jackson. Lynch. Shot. They've all been shot.
Captain! It's Davis!
Where are Collins and Neil? They were with him.
Davis?
What? What happened here?
Report.
Captain, we found Biggs. Floating, face down in the canal. Collins and Neil are carrying him back. I ran ahead.
How do you think he died? Did he drown, fall, hit his head, what?
No, sir. He was shot at a close range.
Collins and Neil are on their way back here. So who's missing?
Spender, sir. I just went through the entire ship. Empty.
Spender? Damn him. Why didn't he come and talk to me?
He should have talked to me. I'd have shot his bloody brains out.
All right, everyone inside. We'll get our guns and grenade packets and go find Spender.
This book, at least 10,000 years old. To just leave it in a villa like they did. The pages so thin, so old. And down below, the dust rising from the valley. They're coming for me. What's the use? I'll sit here reading until they come along and shoot me. I was stunned when I killed those men. A blankness, then sickness, but now a strange peace. But the peace will not last. I know it. The dust, they follow. They want to die too. It's so peaceful here and in the valley. If I could live here without a sound, without a worry. I'll go further up into the hills, but I'll walk slow so they can catch up to me. These bluffs. Perfect. A nice spot. Ah, there they are. You! Standing off by yourself. Dead in his tracks. Now what, Captain? Oh, I know. Form a circle, a net. All you have to do is close in and get me. Why aren't they using grenades? Better they don't. I'm much too nice to be blown to bits. That's what the captain thinks. He wants me with only one hole in me. Isn't that odd? He wants my death to be clean, nothing messy. Why? Because he understands me. He's willing to risk good men to give me a clean shot in the head. Isn't that it?
Spender!
White flag? That's far enough.
Can I sit down?
On this boulder, right next to me. No tricks.
No tricks. Cigarette?
Thanks.
Light?
Got my own.
Warm.
It is.
You comfortable up here?
Quite.
How long you think you can hold out?
About 12 men's worth.
Why didn't you kill all of us this morning when you had the chance? You could have, you know.
I know. I got sick. When you want to do something badly enough, you lie to yourself. You say the other people are all wrong. Well, soon after I started killing people, I realized they're fools and I shouldn't be killing them. But it was too late. I couldn't go on with it then, so I came up here where I can lie to myself some more and get angry to build it all up again.
Is it built up?
Not very high. Enough.
Why'd you do it?
Because I've seen what these Martians had was just as good as anything we'll ever hope to have. They stopped 100 years ago. I've walked in their cities and I know these people and I'd be glad to call them my ancestors.
Their cities are beautiful.
It's not that alone. Yes, their cities are good. They knew how to blend art into their living. It's always been a thing apart for Americans. Art was something you kept in the Crazy Sun's room upstairs. Art was something you took in Sunday doses, mixed with religion, perhaps. Well, these Martians have art and religion and everything.
You think they knew what it was all about, do you?
For my money.
And for that reason you started shooting people?
When I was a kid, my folks took me to visit Mexico City. I'll always remember the way my father acted, loud and big. And my mother didn't like the people because they were dark and didn't wash enough. And my sister wouldn't talk to most of them. I was the only one who really liked it. And I can see my mother and father coming to Mars and acting the same way here.
Perhaps.
Anything that's strange is no good to the average American. If it doesn't have Chicago plumbing, it's nonsense. The thought of that. Oh, God, the thought of that. And then the war. You heard the congressional speeches before we left. If things work out, they hope to establish 3 atomic research and atom bomb depots on Mars. That means Mars is finished. All this wonderful stuff gone. How would you feel if a Martian vomited stale liquor on the White House floor? And the other power interests coming up, the mineral men and the travel men. Do you remember what happened to Mexico City when Cortez and his very fine good friends arrived from Spain? A whole civilization destroyed by greedy, righteous bigots. History will never forgive Cortez.
You haven't acted ethically yourself today.
What could I do? Argue with you? It's simply me against the whole crooked, grinding, greedy setup on Earth. They'll be flopping their filthy atom bombs up here, fighting for bases to have wars. Isn't it enough? They've ruined one planet without ruining another. Do they have to foul someone else's manger? The simple-minded windbags. When I got up here, I felt I was not only free of their so-called culture, I felt I was free of their ethics and their customs. I'm out of their frame of reference, I thought. All I have to do is kill you all off and live my own life.
But it didn't work out.
No. After the 5th killing at breakfast, I discovered I wasn't all new, all Martian, after all. I couldn't throw away everything I had learned on Earth so easily, but now I'm feeling steady again. I'll kill you all off. That'll delay the next trip in a rocket for a good 5 years. There's no other rocket in existence today, save this one. The people on Earth will wait a year, 2 years, and then when they hear nothing from us, they'll be very afraid to build a new rocket. They'll take twice as long and make 100 extra experimental models to ensure themselves against another failure.
You're correct.
A good report from you, on the other hand, if you returned, would hasten the whole invasion of Mars. If I'm lucky, I will live to be 60 years old. Every expedition that lands on Mars will be met by me. There won't be more than one ship at a time coming up, one every year or so, and never more than 20 men in the crew. After I've made friends with them and explained that our rocket exploded one day, I intend to blow it up after I finish my job this week. I'll kill them off. Every one of them. Mars will be untouched for the next half-century. After a while, perhaps the Earth people will give up trying. Remember how they grew leery of the idea of building zeppelins that were always going down in flames?
Yet you're outnumbered. In an hour, we'll have you surrounded. In an hour, you'll be dead.
I've found some underground passages and a place to live you'll never find. I'll withdraw to live there for a few weeks, until you're off guard. I'll come out then to pick you off, one by one.
Tell me about your civilization here.
They knew how to live with nature and get along with nature. They didn't try too hard to be all men and no animal. That's the mistake we made, that Darwin and our religious leaders didn't mix. Or at least we didn't think they did. We were fools. We tried to budge Darwin and Huxley and Freud. They wouldn't move very well. So, like idiots, we tried knocking down religion. And we succeeded pretty well. We lost our faith and we went around wondering what life was for. If art was no more than a frustrated outflinging of desire, if religion was no more than self-delusion, what good was life? Faith had always given us answers to all things, but it all went down the drain with Freud and Darwin. We were, and still are, a lost people.
And yet these Martians are a found people.
Yes. They knew how to combine science and religion so the two worked side by side, neither denying the other, each enriching the other.
It sounds ideal.
It was. I'd like to show you how the Martians did it.
My men are waiting.
We'll be gone in a half hour. Tell them that, sir.
All right, I will.
A Martian village. Cool, perfect marble. Great friezes of beautiful animals, white-limbed cat things, yellow-limbed sun symbols, statues of bull-like creatures, and statues of men and women. There's your answer, Captain.
I don't see.
The Martians discovered the secret of life among animals. The animal does not question life. It lives. Its very reason for living is life. It enjoys and relishes life. You see that statuary? The animal symbols? Again and again?
It looks pagan.
On the contrary, those are God symbols. Symbols of life. Man had become too much man, and not enough animal on Mars, too. And the men of Mars realized that in order to survive, they would have to forego asking that one question any longer. Why live? Life was its own answer. Life was the propagation of more life and living of as good a life as possible. The Martians realized that they asked the questions, why live at all, at the height of some period of war and despair when there was no answer. But once the civilization calmed, quieted, and war ceased, the question became senseless in a new way. Life was now good and needed no arguments.
It sounds as though the Martians were quite naive.
Only when it paid to be naive. They quit trying too hard to destroy everything, to humble everything. They blended religion and art and science because, at base, science is no more than an investigation of a miracle. They never let science crush the aesthetic and the beautiful. It's all simply a matter of degree. An Earthman thinks, in that picture, color does not exist, really. A scientist can prove that color is only the way the cells are placed in a certain material to reflect light. Therefore, color is not really an actual part of things I happen to see. A Martian, far cleverer, would say, this is a fine picture. It came from the hand and the mind of a man inspired. Its idea and its color are from life. This thing is good.
I'd like to live here.
You may if you want.
You ask me that?
Will any of those men under you ever really understand all this? They're professional cynics, and it's too late for them. Why do you want to go back with them? So you can keep up with the Joneses? To buy a gyro just like Smith has? To listen to music with your pocketbook instead of your glands? There's a little patio down here with a reel of Martian music in it, at least 50,000 years old. It still plays. Music you'll never hear in your life. You could hear it. There are books. I've gotten unwell in reading them already. You could sit and read.
It all sounds quite wonderful, Spender.
But you won't stay.
No. Thanks anyway.
And you certainly won't let me stay without trouble. I'll have to kill you all.
You're optimistic.
I have something to fight for and live for. That makes me a better killer. I've got what amounts to a religion now. It's learning how to breathe all over again, and how to lie in the sun, getting a tan, letting the sun work into you, and how to hear music, and how to read a book. What does your civilization offer?
I'm sorry this is happening. I'm sorry about it all.
I am too. I guess I'd better take you back now so you can start the attack.
I guess so.
Captain, I won't kill you. When it's all over, you'll still be alive.
What?
I decided when I started that you'd be untouched.
Well,
I'll save you from the rest. When they're dead, perhaps you'll change your mind.
No. There's too much Earth blood in me. I'll have to keep after you.
Even when you have a chance to stay here?
It's funny, but yes, even with that. I don't know why. I've never asked myself. Well, here we are. Will you come quietly, Spender? This is my last offer.
Thanks, no. One last thing.
Yes?
If you win, do me a favor. See what can be done to restrict tearing this planet apart, at least for 50 years, until the archaeologists have a decent chance, will you?
Right.
And last, if it helps any, just think of me as a very crazy fellow who went berserk one summer day and never was right again. It'll be a little easier on you that way.
I'll think it over. So long, Spender. Good luck. Is there a drink?
Here, sir.
Thanks. All right, be careful. We have all the time we want. I don't want any more lost. You'll have to kill him, because he won't come down. Make it a clean shot if you can. Don't miss him. Get it over with.
Blow his damn brains out.
You heard what I said. Through the chest. Now, let's go. Fan out. I hate being clever. When you don't really feel clever and you don't want to be clever. Sneak around and make plans and feel big about making them.
See anything?
No, I'm headed over here.
I hate this feeling of thinking I'm doing right when I'm not really certain I am. Who are we anyway? The majority? Is that the answer? The majority is always holy, is it not? Always. Always. Just never wrong for just one tiny, insignificant, tiny moment, is it? Never, ever wrong in 10 million years. What is this majority, and who are we in it? And what do they think, and how did they get that way? And will they ever change, and how the devil did I get caught up in this rotten majority? I don't feel comfortable. Is it claustrophobia, fear of crowds, or common sense? Can one man be right when all the world thinks they are right? Let's not think about it. Let's crawl around and act exciting and pull the trigger. There! And there!
The captain sees him.
Yes, he's got him nailed down.
Damn brains all over. I see him. I'll shoot his damn brains all over.
Parkill! Get back here!
Hey, you! Here's a slug for your head.
Parkill!
Go on, Spender, get out. Like you said you would. You've only got a few minutes to escape.
Come on. You got him now.
Get out and come back later. Go on!
I got a clear shot.
No, Parkill!
What? Captain, it's a clear shot from here. He's looking to the others coming up the right. He doesn't see me.
No, I can't let you do it. Nor the others. None of you. Only me. Go on, Spender. I'll give you 30 seconds to get away. 30 seconds. Go down into the tunnels you said you found and lie there and live there for months and years, reading those fine books. Go on, before it's too late. Spender. He's dead.
In the chest?
In the chest. I wonder why he waited. I wonder why he didn't escape as he planned. I wonder why he stayed on and got himself killed.
Who knows?
If only he had come to me and talked it over before he shot anybody, we could have worked it out somehow.
Worked what out? What could we have worked out with his likes?
I guess you're right. We could have never have got together. Spender and myself, perhaps, but Spender and you and the others? No, never. He's better off now.
We should bury him.
Not here. The village we passed through on that patrol a few days ago. That empty sarcophagus we found in the burial vault. We'll put him in there. I think it'd be a good idea for you to think of Spender from time to time.
Yeah. And after we leave him in the vault, we could do some target practice in the town. Shoot out some windows and blow the tops off of some of them towers.
Park Hill.
Yeah?
This is the end of disc number 2. Please insert disc number 3.